how am I supposed to work? How am I supposed to make money? How am I supposed to pay my mortgage, pay for food when my kids are coming home at 12:30 in the afternoon? The time has come where we need to prep for my son's first day of elementary school. If you're not German, you might be like, what? It's currently February. Why are you preparing for the first day of school that's likely gonna happen in August or September? Well, things are done a little differently here in Germany, and elementary school in Germany is different. I am a Canadian who has been living here in Germany since 2014, and I now have two German children, one currently going to Kita and the other one at a Tagespflege. So that means I'm sharing my experiences as I live them. And I have learned so much from so many of you that I think it's about time I share these tips so that those of you who are in the same boat as me can take these tips and prepare yourself for your kids' first day of elementary school here in Germany. Before I confuse anybody here, the first thing you need to know is that elementary school, or primary school you might consider it to be, in Germany is called Grundschule. I might refer to this school as Grundschule throughout this video, so just so you're prepared. There are some really exciting things that we're gonna talk about, but there are a few basic things that you should also know before we get into the fun stuff. So tip number 2 is going to be about where do you register your child for school. We have just registered my son for Grundschule here in Düsseldorf. And here in Düsseldorf, you actually get a letter from the Schulverwaltungsamt about 10 to 11 months before your child is supposed to start school. We have also been to a Tag der offenen Tür, which is basically where you go, explore the school, meet some of the teachers, figure out which ones are going to possibly be teaching your child. And then you also have the registration day. My son will be starting in August because in Düsseldorf, he starts school in August. So back in October or November, many of us had already registered for 1 to 2 schools that we would possibly like our children to go to. In Düsseldorf, we have to pick 2 schools because if our first choice isn't available, they don't have enough spots for you, then the second choice will be considered. That is different among states, so that's something that you can figure out where you live. But we received the registration form 10 to 11 months before he starts school, and we brought that form then to the school when we signed up for a meeting with the principal or the Schulleiter to talk about any questions we had, any questions they had, our son's migration background. He is born in Germany, but we speak English at home. All of these things they wanted to know. They also asked if he wanted a particular schoolmate to be with him in his class. We also asked, things like, what are our chances of getting a spot at this school? They often go by distance, or if it's a Catholic school, then of course before the distance you live to that school, they might look at if you are baptized or not. But very important, of course, if you are not currently living in Germany, then you didn't receive this Anmeldung or this registration form. In this case, probably the best thing to do is figure out where you want to live and then contact the schools closest to where you are going to be settling in. They will be able to give you the next steps. You can meet with the office staff or the principal then and go through the steps and the processes that you need to take to register them in a school closest to you. Point number 3 to mention is that it is different among states. So in Canada, it's a bit different. We actually start school in kindergarten. So you can start at the age of 4 because now many provinces actually have junior and senior kindergarten. But in Germany, school starts at grade 1 and it typically begins around August or September. However, here in Düsseldorf, we run until grade 4, but it is different in some states like Brandenburg and Berlin, for example. They might run until grade 6. So for us, typically around the age of 9 or 10, they then get split up into different schools, and you and your children and the teachers need to decide whether your kid would like to go to a Hauptschule, a Realschule, Gymnasium, or maybe even a Gesamtschule. These are all different forms of schools that are then considered to be middle school. That's for another day, perhaps when my children actually go through these stages. But I just wanted to give you an understanding as to how long they might be spending here in that elementary school. So now the fun stuff. Point number 4 is that first grade, as I mentioned, is a very big deal, which means there are a couple things that you need to prepare for. Let's go. The glorified Schulranzen. Ta-da! The German school bag. This particular school bag, which I like to call the German school bag, they refer to not as a Rucksack. This is called a Schulranzen. This backpack in particular is basically like the rite of passage for every German child entering the school system. Along with a few other things, of course, which we will get to. But I want to talk about why exactly it's so important for our child to have one. So naturally, I referred to my Instagram account to ask many of you why this is such a popular topic and what I'm supposed to know about it, and if you have any tips for me. You had a lot of tips. First, let's get the price question off the table. Many of these school backpacks go for around 250 euros per piece. Germans have answered my question saying, well, that's because it is built to last. It should last the 4 years of the child's schooling in Grundschule, and it comes with the whole set, which comes with different pieces. I will show you that in a second. So I partnered up with a company called GMT Kids. They are the brand who has created this amazing backpack that my son has so proudly picked out all on his own. He picked one for his sister too. And we're gonna use their backpacks to give you an idea of what it all includes and why this Schulranzen is so glorified here in Germany. Myself, as a foreigner, living here in Germany and looking at these tiny little kids wearing massive backpacks that look like they're gonna eat them up is absurd. Then I found GMT Kids, and the designer behind the brand actually created these backpacks with that focus specifically. So they have made these backpacks actually 30% lighter than the ones on the market today. So they weigh in at about 780 grams. The team said, well, if we can't change the fact that in Germany, so many schools send their kids home with so many school books, we're just gonna change the weight of the backpack itself. The key point is without compromising many of these amazing features that a lot of the brands on the market have today. So the GMT Kids backpack specifically hold 22 liters, and they are made of recycled polyester fibers, which are actually just as tough as typical polyester, but it just offers a much bigger environmental gain and also makes it very durable, super lightweight, and quick drying. So the rule of thumb is actually that the backpack shouldn't be below their bum, shouldn't be above their shoulders, and shouldn't be wider than the child itself. And as I mentioned, most kids have the same backpack for about 4 years. These backpacks are built to last. So much so that GMT Kids even offers you a 4-year guarantee. So I guess in Canada, what Germans would consider a Rucksack or Sporttaschen, for example, would be the bags that we use for school. I tried to figure out why Germany wants their kids' backpacks to be so ergonomically friendly and we don't in Canada, but I think that might have something to do with the fact that in Germany, they don't often have lockers. They could have little cubby spaces. Sometimes that's the case in Canada too, but oftentimes they do bring many of their books back home each day. So our backpacks here specifically offer many different amazing features, which is why so many people do choose to go with a backpack similar to this. It provides better back protection for the child's posture. You can see that the back plates are padded and the shoulder straps are actually wide and also padded to protect their shoulders. And then inside the bag, very unique to Germany, it is stiff. And this is created to protect the books and to help distribute the weight properly. Interesting, nah? The bottom protection corners also help to protect the bag from the outside, and these super cool fluorescent reflectors also, of course, increase the child's road safety, as most German kids travel to school on foot and often on their own, which we've talked about in many videos before as well. So of course, all of these features you can find in the GMT backpacks, but what's most important for the kids is that they love it, that they're able to choose one that is unique and makes them feel like a special version of themselves. A Schulkind. They have dinos, they have spaceships, they have rainbow unicorns. Many of these backpacks come as a set, so you're not actually buying alternative pieces. The GMT Kids backpack can come in a 4-piece set or a 6-piece set. With the 4-piece set, you will get the Schulranzen, so the backpack itself, ein Federmäppchen, which is like a pencil case, these super cute little fun Velcro icons that they can stick onto their pencil case and to their backpack, and a rain cover with reflectors so that they can protect their backpack from the rain even in the dark. If you choose a 6-piece set, which many people often do, this includes the Freizeitrucksack, or basically the version of a backpack that we would use in Canada. It also includes a Schlampermäppchen, which is also a pencil case. If you're German, please let me know what's the difference between a Schlampermäppchen and a Federmäppchen. When you translate into English, they're both pencil cases. So as you can tell, I'm like totally on board with this very glorified German school backpack now. And just watching the excitement in my son's eyes is just amazing. So if it's time for you and your kiddies to find their very first school backpack, GMT Kids has offered us a 10% discount. I will include that link down below as always, and you can also use the code LIFE in Germany for that 10% off as well. What else makes first grade so exciting? Well, the celebrations and the Schultüte, of course. We are talking about this over on my Instagram stories. I had so many questions for you guys, like what am I supposed to fill the Schultüte with? For those of you who don't know what a Schultüte is, I also have many questions coming my way saying, what is this and what's so important about it for first grade? Well, as parents, you're actually responsible for either building a Schultüte, which is like this gift cone, with your children, or maybe you want to surprise them and build it yourself. And on their first day of school, you bring it with you to the school filled with goodies and treats and everything. And when I asked, what do you put in it? This thing is huge. Like, how are you supposed to fill it all? But I have tons of tips that I have included in my notes on my phone for when I'm going to stuff my son's Schultüte, and I'll film that for you guys as well. But we have some really, really cool ideas now. And then in addition to the Schultüte, which they bring back home with them after school, and they go home and they open it there. This is when the celebration starts. Some people say they don't do a celebration at all. Some people say it's more of an East German thing. I asked our Instagram followers, we got tons of answers, and I think the average response was you choose to take your child out to their favorite restaurant with their family, their aunts, their uncles, their oma, opa, and sometimes even their close friends. If you're going to invite your close friends as well, some people prefer to have the party at home, and it's typically Kaffeekuchen and a few little gifts. Some people, as I've learned, go huge on the gifts. Some people, not so huge. So I think I'm gonna find some sort of median. Maybe I will let my son pick his favorite restaurant so we can go out in the evening just as our small family. One of my nieces is also going into the first grade, so maybe we can do something together, which I've also been told if you are invited to a first grader celebration, you do bring them a gift. Some people bring something big, but I would say something small based on the answers you provided me is sufficient. I would say take the list of things that you can fill the Schultüte with and use this as inspiration to get the child something small. Anyway, lots of exciting events taking place and lots of exciting ways to prepare your child for first grade here in Germany. But there are a few more things that I want to slap you with right now so that you are fully prepared before you send your child to first grade here in Germany. So point number 5 would be that German schools do have reputations. This is something that absolutely shocked me. So I'm aware that when we go into middle school or junior high, the reputation is even more important. But don't be surprised if people around you are talking about the reputation of their elementary schools as well. Depending on what district it is in or how many foreigners are there, might change the reputation of the school. Most people in Germany will choose the school that's closest to them, but some people get a little bit more picky and decide, I don't want to be at that school because it doesn't have a good reputation. I'm going to choose a different school. Of course, the likelihood of you getting in might drop, but in Düsseldorf, for example, you can choose 2 schools to go to, and then you have 2 different chances of getting in. Just depends. In Canada, this is a little bit different. You're actually just allocated the school that is closest to you on fertig. Super easy. There are options to switch schools if, for example, your child is being bullied. Sometimes there are opportunities to switch. On the other hand, in Canada, we actually have something called a school district, and that is oftentimes multiple different cities put into one school district. We play sports against these schools. There are Catholic districts and public districts, and the district itself can often be ranked. So people from abroad coming to Canada, I often hear say, oh, we really want to be in this district because these schools are supposed to be the top ranked in Ontario, for example. And then they will actually pick their house based on which school district they want to be in. Point number 6 would be total heads up, you guys. There is something called a Schulpflicht here in Germany. That starts in the first grade, which means you can't actually take your children out of school for a reason other than maybe a family member passing away or a doctor's appointment or something that needs to be done. No taking them out because you want to go camping or tobogganing because it's snowing outside. They legally have to attend school. If your child is not going to be attending school, you need to get that approval from the principal beforehand. Some principals are more strict than others. There are basic laws that they all have to follow, but there might be a little bit of wiggle room depending on the situation and what's going on. Also, a good point to mention is homeschooling in Germany is illegal, not an option. But if this is something that is really going to make or break your decision to move to Germany, I will say that I have heard from a couple people that if you enroll your children in an international school, they're not part of the same school system as the public system here in Germany. So their rules can be a little bit different. They might look at you taking your child child back to Canada for 2 weeks as a cultural immersion opportunity for them. So not saying all schools are like this, but that is kind of a loophole to get around the situation. And the last point number 7 that I would mention that's also important to know, and for me, this would have been an absolute make or break for me moving to Germany if I had have known this beforehand. German children do not go to school as long as kids in Canada do, which means my first question was, how am I supposed to work? How am I supposed to make money? How am I supposed to pay my mortgage? Pay for food when my kids are coming home at 12:30 in the afternoon? Goodness, I love them. I just wasn't sure how I was supposed to make it all fit. It is a bit different now in Germany. They do have different programs. So typically the way it looks is that you have like the school program, which might run until 12, 12:15, 12:30, maybe until 1, depending on the state. Again, there is often an after school program that might run until maybe 2, 2:30 p.m. This is where the kids might do their homework with a teacher. They'll stay a little bit longer. And then there's this Ganztagsschule. And this often runs until 3:30, 4:30 p.m. where they can choose different extracurricular activities within the school and join their peers for a little bit of fun and education. So the times are all different, but if you do want this after school care or this Ganztagsschule, this whole day school, you do have to apply for it. If, for example, you are a stay-at-home dad, you might fall down on the list for the available spots for the full day program because they know, okay, well, one of you is at home. So just be aware of all of these points, both exciting points, mandatory points, important points to know. There is a lot to prepare yourself and your children for first grade in Germany, but I hope this information really helps. If there's something else that I have missed, of course, I am just experiencing this right now for the first time myself. I am sharing the tips that I've learned from our German followers. So if I have missed anything, please let me know and I will absolutely share it with you guys. You can go over onto my Instagram at lifeingermany_ and continue the conversation with us there. And don't forget, if you haven't bought your kids backpack yet, you do have 10% off at GMT Kids. The link is down below. Vielen, vielen lieben Dank und wie immer, bis später.